So we are live for this one right here, and we're going to talk about a few important topics regarding Deontay Wilder and Dustin Poirier. And by the way, how appropriate, this shirt right here is from the Dustin Poirier versus Khabib fight. And you know what? I wore it the other day, literally just right before this weekend to a training session. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to get it in the laundry and then wear it again to talk about this particular topic at hand that we have right now. And I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, the reason why I made this video title is to sort of give you guys a bit of some incitement as to understanding what is going on with Dustin Poirier and Deontay Wilder. I was going to call him Dustin Fury. How about that for a little typo error? But anyways, that's what you get with live, right? You get a bunch of mistakes and you can't take them back. But here's another thing that I got to tell you about my videos. I don't edit any of my videos, whether it's live or whether it's on video. So everything that I say and everything that I do with absolute precision is everything that is on my mind, and I'm freestyling it. No written, no editing, just to make it look like I'm articulate or anything like that. I really am that articulate. So let me explain to you the matter at hand right now. I made this title to incite you to understand that Dustin Poirier and Deontay Wilder need to retire. Why? Because it is all for the sake of humanity, and not only that, their quality of life post beyond combat sports. And that really is the most important thing of this whole entire story that we need to understand. You see, Deontay Wilder has taken a tremendous amount of damage in the past couple of fights that he's been in. Not as bad in the Parker fight, even worse in the Zhang fight, but even a whole lot worse as it was starting to be the beginning of the end in the Tyson Fury fights, especially in the couple of fights where he got knocked out by Tyson Fury. So please understand that this right here is a waking call for him to live a better quality of life outside of combat sports. When it comes to Dustin Poirier, I'm going to be honest with you, the damage that he's took is a whole lot more worse than what you could imagine with the likes of Deontay Wilder. A whole lot worse, if you want to compare the two. You look at the wars that Dustin Poirier has had. You could trace back from the Dan Hooker fight, maybe even a whole lot longer than that. Some of the Conor McGregor fights, and one of the Conor McGregor fights where he actually gets knocked out. It's just one after another, and I'm going to tell you, you look at Dustin Poirier's nose, it's very crooked, and you can tell that he's been punched a few times in there, and it's not going to help his quality of life moving forward, as I keep mentioning. And this is why these guys need to retire. What more do they have to prove in their career trajectory right now? And another thing you have to really consider right now is the fact that these two men have a family, they have daughters, they have children, they have families, but how are they going to take care of them if they are severely injured later on in their life? We've seen quite a few examples of this. You can look at Chuck Liddell right now and the starting signs that you're seeing out of him. You can look at somebody like Muhammad Ali in the latter stages of his career. Do we really want this for somebody like Dustin Poirier? Do we really want this for somebody like Deontay Wilder? I gotta tell you, this video is important to make. You see, after this whole entire weekend, everybody was cheering for, let's say, Islam, or was cheering for Zhang and Hamza Shiraz. Obviously, these were the big winners of the weekend. In this Monday, I'm giving you a different perspective when it comes to the agony and the thrill as they show in the UFC's videos post pay-per-view events. In other words, there's guys that have the thrilling aspects of enjoying that victory, and then there's the guys that are experiencing the agony, the possible depression, the possibilities of, I mean, let's be honest here, possibly hurting themselves. Can I be really honest about that? Let's be really honest about that. There's some possible truth to that, okay? Because you got to take into consideration that when you are a fighter and that is your whole entire identity, and you lose a fight, some guys can't take it. Obviously, some worse than others. Ronda Rousey, boy, let me tell you, that was the worst example of them all when it came to somebody that just did not take too well into losing, especially when they had been given this attitude that they were going to continue to become the greatest of all time, and at that, retire undefeated, which had never happened for her career, obviously. In fact, she went out with two of the most devastating losses in her career, and those were the last two fights that she had ever experienced, and I'm talking about Ronda Rousey. But obviously, Wilder and Poirier, they're not this extreme case. They're men. And why that's important is because, let's just be honest, they have a better emotional understanding to what is happening to them when it comes to dealing with the agony of defeat. So in other words, how much more agony do you want to continue on to experience as you try your luck? Now, Dustin Poirier has mentioned that he has this idea of, let's say, fighting just anybody, right? Any random name. Okay, I've mentioned Colby Covington in the past. Is that realistic that he's going to get to fight Colby Covington, considering that he does not want to go through this emotional damage that Colby Covington would put him through? Because let's be honest, as much as we don't like Colby Covington, or at least many of you don't like Colby Covington, he's a master of mind warfare. Okay, mind and the tactics of mental disability or mental discombobulation towards their opponents. That's what you got going on with Colby Covington, and it's really emotionally damaging, and going through all that just for him to go and single leg you, double leg you, when you're Dustin Poirier and you're a striker, and yet here's Colby Covington trash-talking your entire family only for him to lead into the fight with a double leg and a single leg takedown, and to the fans' dismay and non-delight, nothing more than just what they call a hump fest. That's not what people want. But that fight is there. It's a possibility. Those are some of the fights that Dustin Poirier has going on. Hi, listen right now. Turn on the evil, what did he say? Evil Pimp song off the gangster, please. What did Asker here is saying here? He said, Asker13 says, hi, listen right now. Turn on the Evil Pimp song of the gangster, please. I don't know what that's in reference to. Perhaps maybe that's in reference to one of my videos where I had some West Coast beats going on. But no, I don't do that for the lives, because obviously those are only for the videos, and they're only special for that specific moment of time when I shoot the videos. But when I do the lives, I'm not going to do them. But anyways, thank you for your engagement, and don't forget to like and subscribe as we continue to talk about the retirement party for Dustin Poirier and Deontay Wilder. So does it need to happen? Yes. Here's something you got to understand too. I want to get to this one particular topic in terms of fighters' identity. It's very important to understand this particular part of the live stream that I'm about to discuss, because this particular part of the live stream that I'm discussing with you is the reason why many guys don't retire. And they're going to continue literally until the wheels fall off. Simply because many fighters have a strong will, as they should, They have a self-belief that is undeniable. Okay? Let's see, what is this? I want to know your reaction. I recorded it 2 days ago in case you like it. I want to know your reaction. I recorded it 2 days ago in case you like it. My reaction to what specifically, Asker123? Let me know what you specifically reacted. Did you mean you reacted to one of my videos, or I don't know what you mean by that, but in any regard, yeah, thank you for your comment. But the fighter's identity is what keeps many fighters going in terms of why they're not going to retire, and they're going to do it even to the point of just endless pain that they're going to suffer in the end. And that right there is a sad part about the fight game. And you know what? It's not always about the money, because when you're dealing with Dustin Poirier and Deontay Wilder, and one can argue that obviously Wilder, just by counting all of the big events that he's been in, probably made a whole lot more money. But that's not what we're talking about here. Let's just be honest. Both men have money. Even Dustin Poirier has made money. The point is they have money. Okay, but wait, on a side note, let me explain something about money in boxing versus MMA, right? So Dustin makes a lot of money, not just in the fights, which, by the way, you can argue is underpaid, but he makes a lot of money with his business as well. And the reason being is because he uses his name from the clout that he gains from the UFC and gains a whole lot of monetary gain and monetize himself through hot sauce and other endeavors that he's gotten into, right? Asker says, 123, what do you think went wrong with Justin this time? What do I think went wrong with Justin, or you mean Dustin? Justin needs to change a lot. I think you mean Dustin. He wrote Justin, but I'm assuming because the topic is about Dustin Poirier, you may mean Dustin. So I'm going to assume that you mean Dustin Poirier just by my strong educated guess, and I'll answer your question right now. What do I think went wrong? I don't think anything went wrong. In fact, I think that this was one of the best fights that Dustin Poirier had put on. Just like Anthony Joshua, when he fought Usyk, even though it was a loss, and that's the superficial aspect that people are going to look at is the result, it was actually one of Anthony Joshua's best performance. It just so happens that he took on the best in the world. So when you look at Dustin Poirier in this situation, I'm going to go out of the limb and say that this was the best performance of his career. But it just so happens that his best performance was against the best guy in the world, if not the best in this generation right now, in Islam Makhachev. So I don't think anything went wrong. And that's usually the question that a lot of people want to know when something went wrong with a fighter. They want to know, what did he do wrong? Most times, there are plausible reasons to point at and say, aha, he did this wrong. He did that wrong. And I can even point out to you that what Dustin Poirier did wrong was not use his hips enough the minute that he got taken down. And ground control aspects of the fight, which obviously we knew Islam was going to dominate in. So I don't think he did anything wrong other than the true susceptibility that we've always known him to have in terms of submission defense deficiency, especially at the highest level with the likes of Charles Oliveira and Khabib Nurmagomedov in the ways that you've seen him get choked out in the past. So he wasn't anything that he did wrong. It was everything that Islam did right, to really answer your question on that one, Asker123. And by the way, for those of you that are tapping in, don't be shy. Drop a comment. Ask a question. I promise I'm going to be very friendly. As long as you're friendly and cordial and you keep it respectful, I'm going to answer your question. Whatever questions you want to talk about, whatever topic you would like to discuss, I'm here for it. And by the way, speaking of topics in terms of pound for pound number one, check out my video that I'm going to have 30 minutes from now after I get off this live stream. It is called Islam and John Jones, what does it really mean with the pound for pound rankings and the number 1 spot versus the number 2 spot? What does it all mean? Obviously, this is in response to Dana White's comments post UFC 302 in the presser and what he had said. So as a result, I reacted to that and gave you guys my take on what it really means to be pound for pound, if that even is a real thing. I'm going to discuss more about that, but for now, this particular video is really all about the guys that lost this weekend, not so much about the guys that won. If you're one of those people that are, let's say, fair weather fans that like to follow the crowd, that like to follow the trends, that like to only follow the winners, then I suggest you go and watch the other videos, because this one is not about the winners of the weekend, but rather the ones that are going to face the struggle of defeat. In particular, Dustin Poirier and Deontay Wilder. So why is this important to talk about? Because, like I said, it is a fighter's identity to truly believe that they are the best in the world, and whenever they fall into certain mishaps or certain falls or downfalls like this, they feel as though that they can rise back from it and get back on a horse and absolutely dominate in ways that people would have never expected. This is the mind of most fighters. You get caught up in that cycle. It's a gambling addiction. It's the same feeling. Now, personally, I've told you guys, even though I make predictions and breakdowns in this video, I don't do any gambling. I don't do my predictions based on gambling or anything like that. I make predictions based on what I know about the sport of mixed martial arts and the capabilities of what each fighter can do and not do. So it has nothing to do with the odds and evens or anything like that, but I can tell you, gambling is the same mindset, and the addiction of it is the same mindset as what you are seeing with these fighters that just can't let go. It's a very addictive feeling in more ways than one. You want to know why? Think about it like this. I'm about to give you some breakdown of why a lot of these fighters are never going to retire when it comes to the detriment of their own health. Imagine you walk out to the crowd, your own entrance music, or a music that you like. Everybody is screaming your name. And not only that, before the fight and after the fight, those are some of the best feelings. You're in the hotels, people are giving you props, people are giving you all types of recognition. And I can tell you, even for myself, who has fought in smaller situations, I can tell you that I understand that feeling. When I fought up in Reno, literally on the same card as Anthony Hernandez, the 185er coming out of Sacramento here, I fought in the same card with him at Reno back in 2012. And from my experience, I can be honest with you and tell you that, man, I know what these guys are feeling when it comes to the praise. So while I was walking around in the Grand Sierra Hotel where the fight was to be held, and I got my own hotel room, I saw a few of these kids that were playing Little League. So they went up and they asked me, they're like, hey, are you going to be fighting on this card? And I said, yeah, I am. It's like, why? Oh, because, we're going to go and watch it and this and that. I think our dad's got us tickets and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see you fight. Boy, let me tell you, that feeling was an absolute high. And then on top of that, I've trained with the likes of Uriah Faber, TJ Dillashaw, Chad Mendez, all these guys that are out here in Northern California. And when you go out with them or when you train with them and people see you with them, boy, let me tell you, it's an absolute high. Okay, the life of a fighter in whatever level you are at is just absolutely amazing in terms of your self-esteem and how people look at you. So that right there is really the most addictive feeling in the world that you're going to experience. So as a result, it's hard to let go. And when it's hard to let go, guess what? You're going to become addicted to this fast life of the mixed martial arts game. And by the way, you got to understand, this is also very similar to the entertainment space. I compare modern mixed martial arts literally to the rap game. Let me give you some comparisons into that reality. For one, the rap game, just like the fight game, you get put on real quickly if you have a notable person that you train with. I've seen it happen training in Team Alpha Male gyms. Guys getting fights rather quickly than, let's say, other guys that come from smaller gyms just because they come from bigger gyms. You see that with TriStar. They're able to put very good fights for their up-and-coming prospects, amateurs, and everything in between because they have a big notoriety to their squad. Well, just like in a rap game, if your manager manages other top rappers, guess what? You get put on features, you get put on different songs, you get put on different platforms, different podcasts, and you just have an advantage that other people don't have. Just like the real world, okay? Just like the real world, to be quite honest with you, because in the real world, guess what? When you have a corporate job, 9 times out of 10, you are in that job because of the people that you know. Same thing with me. I've been in different jobs, whether it was in finance, mortgage companies, or whether it was in sports management settings, or whether it was some sort of sales settings, whatever type of job, and the lucrative aspect that I gained from it was through knowing the right people. And the rap game and the fight game are no different than that. So it is really all about getting put on. So maybe, just maybe, this particular aspect is something that Dustin Poirier and Wilder can look back on and say, hey, you know what? Maybe perhaps there is a great chance that I can go out there and gain this same buzz from helping somebody out. Because Dwayne Ludwig, the former coach of Team Alpha Male, experienced that. Obviously, he had a lot of injuries all throughout his career, could no longer continue to fight, and as a result, guess what? He found a new avenue to feel that same high. And that was through coaching the top ninjas that are coming up in the world, and in particular TJ Dillashaw. Let me see some chats that I may have missed here. Asker here says, the most powerful thing was Mike Tyson at the peak of his form. I guarantee that everyone in boxing was unlucky. You met Scott Atkins? I don't know what you mean by that. You meet Scott Atkins. I meet Scott Atkins. No, I don't know what you mean by that. I did meet Scott Smith, who, by the way, is that guy that you see in the UFC highlights where he looked like he was playing possum after he got hit with a body shot and then came through with a right cross to knock out, what was that guy's name? I believe he was a Long Island guy that trained out of Matt Serra's team. But anyways, let me see what else is here. Iron Mike Tyson is eternal. He has earned his name for all of his work. Okay, I don't know what that's in reference to, because obviously we're talking about Dustin Poirier and Deontay Wilder and having to retire. But as you guys know, obviously that fight with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson has been canceled. So Logan Paul looks like he wants to jump in, but I don't know how realistic that is. Jorge Masvidal may jump in, but he has a date coming up with Nate Diaz. Maybe perhaps they would pay Nate Diaz step-aside money. Who knows? There's a lot of speculations that are going on with that fight, and we just don't know a whole lot of it. But by the way, do not forget to check out my up-and-coming video in less than 20 minutes from now regarding John Jones and Islam Makhachev, of who the pound-for-pound #1 is. That video is coming out in less than 20 minutes on this channel premiering. Who is the pound for pound number one, Jon Jones or Islam? We could talk about that right now if you would like, but I would rather really concentrate this particular live stream on those that have faced the agony of this weekend's entire events, spanning from the 5-on-5 Saudi Arabia all the way down to the UFC card that took place in Newark, New Jersey. So, Eddie Hearn, 10-0. 10-0. 10-0, Frank Warren wins that by clean sweep. What do I got to say about that? In all true to God honesty, before I give you my take on what I got to say about Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren 10-0, don't forget, those that are just tapping in, 1 p.m., starting less than 20 minutes from now, my video premiering number one pound for pound between Islam and Jon Jones. Now back at it with Eddie Hearn versus Frank Warren and who lost and who won this weekend. I'm going to give you my take on this. As you know, Eddie Hearn, for a long time, has recruited through the Olympic ranks of his boxers. He went out and recruited Anthony Joshua, who was an Olympian. He recruited Katie Taylor, who was also an Olympian. Campbell, who was also an Olympian. A whole list of names that I can tell you that were all Olympians, which really shows you the entire trajectory that Eddie Hearn was going for was proven amateurs that he wanted to promote as pros. Whereas with Frank Warren, he has a background in unlicensed boxing. Literally, he would bring some of the toughest guys in the streets and have all of them fight, and this is how Frank Warren started out his promotion. So it was a beautiful contrast. The Olympians versus the street guys that became pros. So which approach was correct? I don't know if this particular event really solved that particular question. But you did have the best samples that you could offer when it came to, let's say, prospects or seasoned pros or guys that are in top 5 contenderships and all of these different types of matchup and ranking scenarios that you had at the 5-on-5 series. Was it good enough for that particular sample size to really measure who the best team was? And the reality is, we still don't know. But on the face value, superficial side of it, Frank Warren has the argument and the moral standings to really say that, you know what, I have the better team, I have the better strategy, and I have the better approach. That's the unfortunate aspect of this, is that we have to admit that just by face value alone, he has the better approach. And I want you to have a better approach in liking and subscribing as I continue on talking about the downfall of Eddie Hearn, the downfall of Deontay Wilder, and the downfall of Dustin Poirier. So here it goes. This is not going to be the last of Eddie Hearn. This is a little bit of a different conversation than with Deontay Wilder and Dustin Poirier earlier, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason why this is a little bit different is because now we're talking about a promoter and not a fighter. When you're talking about a fighter, there is a significant amount of damage that you're going to experience that is going to rehabilitate you at some point away from the sport of combat that you are participating in. That's what you're seeing in the decline of Dustin Poirier. It's also what you are seeing in the decline of Deontay Wilder. Now, I could go into different details as to why these two are declining, but I'm going to be honest with you, this is not a technical breakdown. Do I do those? Yes, I do technical breakdowns. I have videos of that. You can go watch that. This right here, this particular content and this particular topic at hand is going to wildly concentrate on the downfall of the parties that are involved in this particular story. And in particular, Eddie Hearn, in particular, Deontay Wilder, and in particular, Dustin Poirier. Now, the consequences are a whole lot worse for the fighters that I'm talking about here. With Eddie Hearn, a lot of you are going to say, yeah, this is the downfall of Eddie Hearn. This is going to be the last time that we're going to see him as a promoter. Not so fast. He's still a promoter. There's still going to be more fights ahead. He's still going to have guys win championships. You also have to understand he still has Canelo on his team. Even though Canelo has done a few fights with PBC, it seems that Canelo has more loyalty towards Eddie Hearn and matchroom boxing more than he's ever had with any other promoter, even though he hops around in different promotions just to get different fights and more lucrative deals as a result of these varying transactions. So because of these varying transactions that Eddie Hearn allows for Canelo, Canelo is going to maintain becoming a staple for matchroom boxing. You see, unlike Oscar De La Hoya, who acts like a jealous relative of some sort, Eddie Hearn is not going to not allow Canelo to go out there and get the bag. He's not going to not allow him to do that. He's going to allow him to do that. And not only will he allow him to do that, he will also allow him to come back even after he creates different relationships with different boxing companies. So that right there alone will just keep Eddie Hearn intact for boxing for a long time, along with the other boxers that are coming up in the Olympic systems of Great Britain that he's going to continue to recruit from. So this isn't the end of Eddie Hearn. You also got to understand this will not be the last time that Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are going to have a 5-on-5. At some point, whether it's going to be this year or in the next coming years, they will still do these 5-on-5 series. And not only that, the outcomes are going to be a whole lot different. They're going to have a different range of outcomes and results as time goes on, and a different recruitment that both promotions are going to have. And quite frankly, Eddie Hearn, this is not going to be the last time you're going to see him at a championship level. Now, obviously, none of these fights were really championship caliber, other than the Herkovich versus Dubois fight. Obviously, there was an interim title that was at stake for that. But still, the biggest loss of this weekend, Wilder and Dustin Poirier. They got to give it up, man. They have to give it up. This is not going to help you in your life after boxing, in your life after MMA. This is only going to just destroy you. And not only that, deter you from living a good life. This is not what you guys want. But again, unfortunately, this is easier said than done. I could sit here and say, I want Deontay Wilder to retire. I want Deontay Wilder to live a better life, but that's not the case. We got a comment right here. Let's see here. Danielle218, what's up, brother? Glad you're tapping in. Eddie Alvarez says he's fighting in November. Is it going to be... Oh, yes, I think I saw, well, at least some snippets of it in the Ariel Helwani interview. Is that going to be in bare knuckle or MMA? Let me know, Danielle. And then Danielle218 also says, Poirier doesn't need to retire, but Wilder does. Okay, that's a good point. Dustin is competitive. Deontay isn't. Dustin versus Justin 3 needs to happen first. I tell you what, that is a good matchup. It's still a very competitive matchup. Daniel, that's not the problem here, though. Didn't say any opponent or organization. Okay, yes. You're right, Daniel. I did see that. That's why I was thinking, I was like, okay, he didn't give a definitive answer, so I was left with really, yeah, not having a definitive result in terms of what I heard. So he did say that. He did say, I'm not going to mention whether it's MMA or, okay, you're right. I do remember now. Okay, so now, sounds like he knows, but he can't say. Yes, that is exactly what is going on. He sounds like he knows, but he can't say. You are 100% on the ball. Sorry, my thing was a little disconnecting there for a second. I was saying that Todd Picogram, I think you probably have the best screen name out of everybody here. So I want to shout out to you for that. Yeah, you're right. There is a contingency of heavyweights in England that seem to be dominating, right? Oh, and I was saying before I was reading that comment, yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, and also check out my video that is coming out in less than 8 minutes from now that is going to premiere on this channel. It is regarding John Jones and Islam Makhachev as to who the #1 pound-for-pound guy is in the world. Okay, in terms of, yeah, the pound-for-pound rankings, or does the pound-for-pound rankings have any merit at all? Those are some of the important topics that we're going to discuss in this particular matter at hand right now. So let me get to a better reception real quick, just so I can, yeah, finish off this live stream with you. I am at a baseball park right now with you guys, so this way we can enjoy a little bit of better connection as we end this live stream. So, all right, here we go. So, that comment earlier by Danielle, I think that's quite a fascinating comment that he made, right? I want to address more on that just right now, okay? So, he said that Deontay Wilder is not competitive. Not in those exact words, but Dustin Poirier is. And Dustin Poirier should continue fighting and competing because he looked competitive against the best fighter in the world. I got to be honest with you, some aspects of that is true, maybe not so, because understand this. Deontay Wilder was facing a guy that was 70 pounds heavier than him. There's something to take a look at and consider with that, right? Dustin Poirier was also taking on a guy that had staph infection, and you say that he looks very competitive against a guy that had staph infection. Maybe so. Maybe so. Again, all of these could be right. All these notions could be right. But just because he's competitive and just because it's right for him to put him in that competitive architecture, it doesn't mean that it's ethical. You understand what I'm saying? So just because it's right, it doesn't mean that it's ethical. So in other words, is it really that ethical for you to put him in that particular position? And my answer to that is probably not. I don't think there's anything ethical of putting Dustin Poirier any further into his career when he could be taking a sustainable amount of damage long term. So that is my argument for that particular notion. So I'm going to have about 1 minute left, and I want you guys to take a look at my premiere for 1 p.m. today as we are about to shut this video down soon. But that is my message, yes. Deontay Wilder doesn't look like the same aggressive human being that he once was. And I think a big part of that is just having different life changes that are going on with you. More money, becoming a lot more civilized, which often doesn't really lend itself to being an aggressive and effective fighter as a result. So this is why I believe that he needs to retire, because he doesn't even have the skills, or not only that, the determination and aggressiveness to get back in there. Dustin Poirier, on the other hand, he's still very skilled, still extremely aggressive in the way that he fights, is always going to be a super Chad of a man in terms of going out there and looking for finishes on a constant basis. But he's taken a serious amount of damage all throughout his career, and I don't think that it's right for him to continue moving on. But guys, I'm signing off right now. In 4 minutes from now, my video is going to be popping up for Islam Makhachev versus Jon Jones, determining who is the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. So here's a question right here by Todd Picogram. How do you see 265 UFC in 2026? That is a great question. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I can see Tom Aspinall, if he gets through Curtis Blades, let's be honest, I think that he beats everybody, and I think that he beats the record for most title defenses by 2026. Because think about it. He has Curtis Blades in UFC 304, and after UFC 304, where does he go from there? Maybe he'll fight again after the summertime, and after the summertime, then he'll fight again in 2025, and then in 2025, maybe he'll get a couple of title defenses, but against who? Maybe Jailton Almeida if he starts coming up. Maybe all these other heavyweights that we've wanted to see get a chance and a crack at the title, or maybe some other names that we haven't seen. But quite frankly, I don't see anyone beating Tom Aspinall. So UFC 265 in 2026, I think Tom Aspinall still is going to be champion. And hopefully they get the Jon Jones fight by then, because I think, like what everybody suspects and what everybody sort of already sees, that Tom Aspinall is going to be a serious problem for Jon Jones. For the same reason why he's going to be a problem for Jon Jones is the same reason why Tom Aspinall is going to continue to be champion all the way up till 2026 and maybe even beyond that, as what we are answering your question right now. So why is that? He's a big guy, very fast. He's very fast because he's used to training with smaller guys. And now, in the current stages of his career, he's working with bigger guys, which allows him to understand and feel that tumultuous pressure before going into the cage, and understanding what he needs to do and understanding what is to be expected that's going to come in front of him. And the speed, the technical efficiency, the ever-improving wrestling skills and boxing skills that he has, on top of the fact that he boxes with Tyson Fury, I think all of this truly lends himself to a positive outcome of having a long and successful title reign in the heavyweight division. So heavyweights for 2026 and beyond, 2025 and now 2024, Tom Aspinall is that guy, and everybody else is going to just have a 50-50 matchup with each other. We're not going to be really sure who's going to be the top 5 that is going to come up, or the ones that are going to go down. Or it could be another era of a very underdeveloped heavyweight division. But you never know. Or maybe perhaps a lot of guys are going to evolve their game based on the fact of Tom Aspinall's evolution and what they're going to learn from it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. My video is premiering right now. I urge you guys to check it out. It is coming out right now. My video for Jon Jones versus Islam Makhachev, who is the pound-for-pound #1 in regards and in reference, and only that, response to Dana White in what he said about Jon Jones when they were asked about if Islam is a pound-for-pound #1 guy in the world. Check it out. It is premiering right now. Check out the premiere video that I have, the cinematic graphics that YouTube has going on for the intro and everything. It is wild. That alone is worth seeing in and of itself. So check it out, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one, inshallah.